My experience with the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study and the accompanying research around the impact of toxic stress to our developing brains, and then the literature on resilience, I just saw the power in those three sets of research topics. And I knew that my community, which is so engaged in the concept of thriving for our family and children, would want to be familiar with this material to then think of ways we could put it into action to make that whole ACE and resilience framework our framework for our children and families.
The movement towards trauma-informed practices that I'm seeing is because people understand what the research is telling us. And the research is telling us that we need to change our approach. It's compelling research, and people are starting to have those conversations. I think Paper Tigers and Resilience has been a national tool to really open this conversation up. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of the people are really starting to understand the why we need to change. They're asking how. And to me, that's the next step, is teaching people how do you put these practices into place.
For the most part, I think what I do training. So I'll go out to different schools and various agencies to go and do just trainings on trauma and how that impacts kids and even the adults that we work with, whatever the capacity that people are working with it. And then I also work with service alternatives and CPS. So I go and work with kids that are in therapeutic foster homes or in foster homes with their with extended family members to try and bridge the gap between that trauma and maybe some of the behaviors that come with that, and then what it looks like to be in a home that has some stability, and how do we transition that into it so that both sides are feeling heard and settled. So a little bit of dabble a little bit in everything in the community, hopefully.
I think the strength of the movement, just here in Walla Walla alone, or the powerful piece of the movement, is how we've come together collectively as a community, where we're not isolated, doing this in isolation, we're doing it together. And the way our community wraps services in through partnerships is amazing to me. It's a powerful model, and it's the right thing to do for people.
Jim said that it takes organizations and agencies and partners to come together to truly create a trauma-informed community. He is absolutely right, and I am so proud of how Walla Walla partners have tried to do that. You see us here with our elementary school, Sharpstein, coming on board with our ACE and resilience training for staff. Green Park Elementary is fully trauma-informed. All staff are now up to speed and showing us how this is done in the elementary school setting. Blue Mountain Action Council is a strong partner, particularly in bringing our neighborhood community together. And the Family Medical Center serves its population with behavioral health trauma-informed care. Blue Ridge Elementary is yet another of our elementary schools involved with us, particularly with the Head Start preschool age program. The YMCA is a partner with us around their recreational programming and after-school care. The Veterans Hospital is well respected for their trauma-informed practice and support of veterans in need. Valley Residential Services provides our developmentally disabled population with trauma-informed support, and they are one of our business leaders in bringing this material forward into their policy, procedures, manuals, and trainings. The YWCA has worked with us on training staff and all their child care providers through their daycare school. The Friends of Children of Walla Walla Mentoring helps support resilience.
We're really proud of you and what you've accomplished in being resilient, and that's what it's all about. And you're a fine example for everybody here in Walla Walla.
And the Walla Walla public school system as a whole has started to recognize the impact of trauma and social emotional learning in our population, and has stepped up to look at a systemic way to build this into their system. Even our public library stepped up and asked us to help them with a couple of resilience treasure hunt activities for parents and children on a Saturday, and allowed us to help boost their library holdings on resilience books. The Department of Community Health is one of our newest partners and a strong leader in bringing this to the county level, as has been the Children's Administration Office of our local DSHS. And here we're at Juvenile Justice Center, one of our very first partners on this journey with pilot work we did with kids in detention there. And Kelsey from Paper Tigers shows us what it means to have the kind of support she was fortunate to have at Lincoln High School and through the health center percolate out through the entire community as she now steps out of Lincoln and through that adult transition into employment. She works 2 jobs successfully and higher education through Walla Walla Community College, which is really stepping forward to try to welcome every incoming student to our campus there.
I think trauma-informed care should be everywhere. I think it should be in doctors' offices and in school. I think a lot of people, when I go on these trips and I talk to people, they say, well, what can I do towards this ACEs movement? I find it intriguing. I think it's interesting. I think it's valid. I'm not an educator. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a physician. What can I do? And I think really everyone can benefit from knowing about this. It teaches compassion, empathy, and no matter however many times you try to level out, what trauma-informed care is, what it all comes down to is, compassion and empathy, and we're all humans and we're all, going through the same things. So I think it's important for everyone to know it can change your perspective on how you see yourself, how you see others, and how you see the world, really.
I'm so impressed to hear a business owner like Kelsey's aunt, who runs a salon, understand the application to business owners of why trauma-informed care is so important to understand.
I first heard about this training when we took Kelsey to Lincoln High School. So we went in and talked to Jim, and he explained a whole bunch of the program to us, and I really felt like it was something that Kelsey could benefit. Didn't really realize that we would all benefit from it, and really we got such a bigger picture, a better understanding of what was going on for her and why kids do what they do, and not only why they do what they do, but how do you handle it? How do you react or not react to it? How do you not take it personal? One of the big things that I just so remember Jim saying is, if a kid's in trouble, if you're in trouble, you don't want somebody to say, settle down. You need to relax. If you keep it level and mellow, you will bring that person back into a perspective where you and they can deal with the situation. It's just learning how to de-escalate a situation is huge. And actually it helps you as well. It isn't just that person. That's one of the biggest things really that we did learn with the ACEs program. How to de-escalate, give somebody the time to decompress before you go in and, because they're gonna feel attacked and they're not. And if you can say that in your business too, there isn't any business that you cannot apply that to. Life in general, every day is your business.
How do we help communities? And my answer to that is, my passion is around that community. No one sector can do this alone. No one organization should have that level of responsibility on their shoulders. It's like a puzzle. When you put a puzzle together, there can be 100 pieces to that puzzle. If half of those pieces were missing, you don't have your finished product, do you? So I like to think of it as my piece matters. No matter who you are, no matter what life pathway you're on, no matter who you work for, your piece matters in this movement, because you can be that last piece in putting that puzzle together called a trauma-informed community.
Our community approach to the trauma-informed framework is designed to increase understanding of trauma and its impact across the broad community spectrum. This is because, as a society, we're becoming increasingly aware that living through traumatic events is more common than previously realized. We know from listening to the experiences of those who have lived through trauma, as well as from findings in science, that traumatic life experiences can have a significant impact on people's lives, increasing the risk of substandard physical and mental health, and along with unacceptable social, educational, and criminal justice outcomes. Although we know children are more vulnerable to the effects of trauma, we also know that trauma can affect people at any stage in their lives. And we know that the risk of poor outcomes are compounded by the difficulties in which people who are affected by trauma can access and use services. With this in mind, we believe trauma should be everyone's business, and that everyone has a role to play in understanding and responding to people affected by trauma. Resilience can provide healing, help, and hope. Healing from the past, help in the present, and hope for the future.